Okie dokie, people, here we go. Toolkit number 32. We are going to be making some money here. Very exciting. Okay. So we got two formulas. Okay. Compounding by period, compounding continuously. Compounding means when do they stop and apply your interest, right? So if you get 10% interest from a bank, right, you put the money in. If they only compound once a year, your money just sits there till the end of the year. And then they're like, oh, hey, here's 10% more, right? And then they wait another year and 10% more. If they compound monthly, right, they will go a month and they'll be like, all right, we're supposed to give you 10% a year. We're going to cut that in 12 pieces. So we're going to give you 10 twelfths this month. And then the next month, they will increase your amount by 10% divided by 12. And they'll do that 12 times. So essentially, you're getting 10% by the end of the year, but they're giving you a little bit at a time. They can do it daily. They can do it hourly. They can do it every minute, every second. If they do it like every itty bitty bit of every day, then that's called continuously, and we get to a different formula. Okie dokie. So that's the difference. If you see words like monthly or quarterly, right, or semi-annually, those kind of words, that's a hint that you're doing it by a period, right? If you see the word continuously, you're using the continuous one, which actually is easier. It'll look a little weird, but it's easier. All right, so here's the formulas. Ready? A equals P times 1 plus R divided by N to the N times T. Okay. Over here, it's A equals P times E raised to the R times T. Okay. So the P and the E are on the bottom line. The R and the T are up as exponents. Okay. It's not P times E times R times T. It's P times E raised to the R times T. Okay, dokie. All right, let's figure out what these means. A is amount at the end of however long you put it in the bank. Okay. P is the amount you have at the start. Okay. It's called the principal. Cool. R is the interest rate. N is the number of compounds. And in our cases, it's going to be per year because we're going to be mostly doing money. Okay. You can actually use this formula for other things like, I don't know, bacteria doubling or something like that, right? So you might be doing this, per minute or per hour or per day or per week, or who knows. But usually when we're talking these formulas, we're talking about money, okay, and what's happening to money. T is time. And in this case, it's typically the number of years. Okie dokie. Here's the cool thing. The A, the P, the R, the T are the same over here. Okay, so this is the amount at the end. This is the principal. This is the interest rate. And this is time. And we don't have to worry about number of compounds per year because we're not compounding. We're just doing it continuously. Cool. The weird thing about this one is the E. E is the natural number. Okay, it's kind of like pi. Okay. Pi looks like a letter. It's a Greek letter, right? But it actually represents a number, right? E is a number is about equal to, and we'll show you how to find this out on your calculator. It's like 2.7. Here we go. Two places to find E on your calculator. You see it right there, right? Right above the divide sign. You also see E raised to the power right above the ln sign. I like to do E raised to the power because that's just where I'm used to it. I'm going to raise it to the first power. Anything to the first power is just what? Is just itself, right? 2 to the first is 2. 5 to the first is. So we can see what kind of number it is. 2.718281828. It's got a lot of 1828s going on, but that's just, it repeats forever, kind of like pi. Okay, so think of it as a number that's like 2.718 dot, 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 dot. Okay, kind of like pi. Okay, it's probably the most important number in the world right now because it has to do with money in a bank. It has to do with credit card debt. It has to do with if you buy a house and you're paying a monthly mortgage, they use E to calculate it, right? It's one of the most important numbers in the world. All right, so here we go. Let's use these. Mr. Smith saves $25,000 in a bank account that earns 5.2% interest compounded monthly. How much will be in the account after 10 years? Oh, I forgot one thing. Interest rate R here, we need to write as a decimal. That's important. Okay. So put some stars around that one. Okay. Interest rate as a decimal. Put some stars next to it. That's a pretty common error is people will write 5.2 instead of 0.05. So let's write that here. Interest rate is equal to 5.2%. I'm going to move the decimal 2 to the left to divide it by 100. So that's going to become 0.052. Okay. 0.5 would be 50%, right? So 0.05 is 5%. Got to be very careful there. All right. My A is equal to 2,500. My P, we don't know. That's what we're finding out. N is equal to compounded monthly. Okay. That's 12. I'm going to write a little arrow to it. And then T is equal to 10. So 10 years. Okay. So here we go. We've got A equals 25,000 times 1 plus 0.052 divided by 12 raised to the n times t. So 12 times 10. Okay. So this should kind of make sense. This means we get our money back, right? 25,000 times 1 means we get to keep 25,000, but we're going to get a little bit more. Okay, a little bit more than just our money back. If this was just one time, we would get our money back, plus we would get a little bit when you distributed this through, get your money back, you keep your money, but you add a little extra. Okay, so that's what this part means, but we're going to keep multiplying it by the extra because that money after a month, now you're going to hit enter again and again and again and again, and eventually you'll get a final amount. So I'm going to put this into my calculator. You have to be very careful in your calculator, right? We're going to put 25,000, and then I'm going to go parentheses, 1 plus 0.052 divided by 12, and then end parentheses, and then I'm going to use the caret. Caret means raised to, right? So raised to the 12 times 10, which is 120 power, and we get $43,003.48. I'll round to the nearest penny. Cool. Cool. That's it. That's it for that one. Let's do the other one here. I think I've got just enough time. Perfect. All right. So this one is A equals P times E to the RT. So my P is 25,000, right? I'm going to multiply it by E. And then we're going to raise that to the R times T. So to the 0.052, and then T is 10 years. Okay, so continuous compound, 10 years. So this I know that I'm using A equals PERT, right? I got the interest, the amount, and the time. Okay, so all that goes into here. The amount I start with, interest rate as a decimal, number of years. All right, so let's plug that in. Do you think it's going to be more? It's the same amount. Okay, to get to that e to the x, you go second and then ln. Second ln lets you go e raised to a power, 0.052, and then times 10. I'll just put that all inside of the parenthesis because that needs to be the exponent. If I do parentheses and then another parentheses, it'll probably do that first and then multiply everything by 10, and it's going to give me a weird answer. 42,050. 42050.69. There we go. So how much more did we get by doing it continuously rather than once a month? Yeah, we got about $47 more. That's pretty good. That's like 10 lattes or something. So we'll take it. All right, that's it. And we will see you all later. Bye.